Ever wonder why your child can hold it together all day at school, only to completely fall apart the moment they get home? You know the scene. The backpack drops, the shoes get kicked off, and before you can even ask how their day went, there's tears, yelling, or a full-blown meltdown. It's easy to start wondering, what am I doing wrong? Especially when things are reportedly fine at school. You're not crazy and you're not alone. Let's talk about what's really going on when your child's hardest moments seem to show up right when the school day ends. Welcome to Calm Connection Parenting, where we buckle up for the emotional roller coaster of raising intense and highly sensitive kids and discover some amazing things along the way. I'm your host, Jamie Kirkbride, a mom of 7, parenting coach, professional counselor, and your guide through the wild world of meltdowns, challenging behaviors, and big emotions. If you're exhausted and overwhelmed, feeling like you're always one step away from chaos, searching for a little calm in your day, then you're in the right place. Here, you'll find practical tools and faith-based strategies to transform your family. Together, we'll laugh, we'll learn, and we'll figure out how to turn those messy meltdowns into moments of connection. Let's jump in. Have you ever wondered why your child can hold it together all day at school, but falls apart the minute they walk in the door? Maybe they come in and they're fine, but the next it's tears, yelling, and the messy meltdowns. You're left wondering, what happened? What am I doing wrong? Well, you're not alone and you're not failing. There's actually a name for this, and understanding it might just change your afternoons and evenings at home. What's happening isn't really defiance and bad behavior. It's something called After-School Restraint Collapse. It's very real and a very common emotional release that many kids experience after a long day at school and holding it all together. In this episode, we're going to unpack what it is, why it happens, and how you can create smoother, calmer afternoons that bring connection instead of chaos. Wouldn't you like to know why your child saves their hardest moments for you? Let me share our story. You know, I've been to a lot of parent-teacher conferences over the years. 7 kids will do that. And over time, I've heard all kinds of things. Funny things, some hard things, some encouraging things, but there are a couple of conferences that still stick with me more than others. One in particular came during a season when I was feeling completely worn out. Every night, I seemed to experience these intense emotions with our child, the challenging behaviors, and honestly, a version of my child that left me feeling defeated and on edge, like I was walking on eggshells. Yet there I sat. I listened to the teacher describe this same child. So kind, so polite, so helpful, and so easy to have in class. All right, I'll admit it. Embarrassingly, I cried right there in the conference. I remember thinking, what's wrong with me? How could my child be so angelic and easy at school and kind of given me a run for my money at home? Then there was another time when I tried to explain my concern that my child seemed to be struggling with something at school. I shared how he would walk through the door and immediately strip down to his underwear, like he was shedding every layer of stress from the day. Then as the night went on, each little thing would just set off his irritability, his tears, and yes, some pretty horrible meltdowns. I was exhausted and confused. But instead of understanding, I was met with, well, things seem fine at school. He doesn't do that here. Once again, I walked away doubting myself, wondering if I was missing something or just not getting it right. It wasn't long after that I stumbled upon a term that made everything click. After-School Restraint Collapse. I actually remember reading about it on attitudemag.org and feeling this huge wave of relief. It was like someone had finally given a name to what we were experiencing. For the first time, I realized I wasn't alone and I wasn't doing it all wrong. This was a real struggle with a real explanation, and it suddenly made so much sense. You see, what I didn't realize back then was that all that pent-up emotion, all that unraveling the moment my child walked through the door, wasn't about disobedience or disrespect at all. It was actually a sign. It was a sign of how hard they were working to keep it together all day long at school. That's what restraint collapse really is. When a child's emotional tank is overwhelmed. And when they get home, that's the one safe place where they can finally let it go. So let's start there. What exactly is after-school restraint collapse and why does it happen? After-school restraint collapse is a real and common experience, especially for kiddos who are emotionally intense, highly sensitive, easily overstimulated. Some of these kiddos that have ADHD or mood disorders. All day long, these kids are working hard to manage themselves. Think about it. They're following directions, staying quiet, waiting their turn, keeping their hands to themselves, experiencing frustrations or challenges of learning, and navigating dozens of social situations. And even when they're smiling, they're still using a lot of emotional energy just to hold it all together. You might liken it to a rubber band that's been stretched too tight for too long. Eventually, that tension has to release, or that tension just snaps. For many kids, that release happens the moment they walk through the door at home. This is where they can finally feel safe. Their nervous system recognizes, I can relax here, I can let down here. And actually, it might look or feel more like they're falling apart. It's actually a form of emotional expression and even safety. The truth is, your child trusts you enough to unravel in your presence and in the safety of your home. No, that doesn't mean it's easy. In fact, it can feel exhausting when every afternoon seems to explode into tears or tantrums. But when you take time to understand this, seeing that it's not rebellion, but instead a release, it can really change how you respond to it. This can allow you to move from a place of frustration to compassion. Taking the time to see the meltdown not as defiance, but as being depleted or overwhelmed, we can choose to handle it differently. And instead of reacting to the chaos, we can respond with calm connection, which we're going to talk about more in just a minute. But when you pause to remember that home is your child's safe zone, everything begins to make a little more sense. This is why the emotional safety triggers release after school. At school, your child is constantly on guard. They're waiting for the unexpected, watching for rules, meeting expectations, trying to read those social cues. They're trying hard to please their teacher, stay out of trouble, fit in with peers, and manage the classroom noise and activity and all of that sensory input. It can be a lot of stimulation for their body and their brain. So when they finally walk through your front door, their whole system kicks in and says, finally, I can just be me. No, I'm not trying to tell you that this is a conscious decision, but something that their tired, overwhelmed brain and body just slips into unknowingly. That sense of emotional safety, yes, the one you've worked so hard to create, is actually what gives them the ability to release what they've been holding in and holding together all day long. It's their system's way of saying, I made it through the day and now I can let it all out. This is exactly what makes this so beautiful and also so challenging at the same time. They trust you with that release. The tears, the meltdowns, the irritability, they all show up because your child feels secure enough to let their guard down. Now listen carefully. That doesn't mean you have to love the chaos that often comes with it. But it does mean that you can start to see what's happening through a new lens. And instead of taking these big emotions personally, you can take them as a cue that your presence is needed and can help them feel safe. And really, that's pretty powerful. Because when your child knows they can fall apart and still be loved, you're modeling the kind of grace that mirrors God's care for us. Yes, the same care that welcomes us when we've come to the end of ourselves. And we might be creating a bit of chaos in the process too. So if it feels like your child's hardest moments always happen when they're finally with you, I want you to remember that's actually a sign that they feel safe in your presence. But let's be honest, knowing that doesn't always make it easier in the moment, does it? Well, you don't have to navigate those emotional evenings on your own. That's exactly why I created the Calm Connection Parent Coaching Program, to give you the tools, strategies, and support that you need to bring peace back into your home and confidence back into your parenting. Let's take a quick break and I'll tell you more about it. Parenting a uniquely wired child can feel isolating, right? While other parents are talking about typical tantrums and bedtime battles, you're navigating emotional meltdowns, sensory overload, or challenging behaviors that many people just don't understand. It can be frustrating when the advice you hear just doesn't fit your child, and even harder when you feel like you're alone in the journey. But here's the truth. You don't have to settle for just surviving. In the Calm Connection Parent Coaching Program, I'll help you understand your child's unique wiring and give you faith-based practical strategies to not only manage the emotions and challenging behaviors, but actually help your whole family thrive. With video course, workbooks, a supportive community, and weekly coaching calls, you'll get personalized support every step of the way. If you're ready to stop feeling alone and start finding real solutions that work for you, your child, and your family, then visit calmconnectionparent.com to learn more. Together, let's move you from surviving to thriving. Let's do this. If those after-school meltdowns or evening blow-ups feel like they're wearing you thin, you're definitely not alone, and there are ways to help make those hours feel much calmer. Now that we've talked about why emotional safety triggers that release, let's take a look at another piece of the puzzle. Some common contributors. The role of sensory and even social overload, and let's look at how understanding it can help you respond with more compassion and less chaos. Two big contributors to this after-school puzzle is sensory overload and social overload. Think about everything your child's brain is working to process throughout the day. Buzzing lights, noisy hallways, cafeteria crowds, scratchy clothes, working in groups, constant directions, shifting schedules, differing expectations, not to mention the number of transitions they've faced. And we know how disruptive and difficult transitions can be, from classroom to classroom, from outside to inside, from a loud gym atmosphere to a quiet classroom. Maybe it's from group cooperation to individual work, from teacher to teacher and all their differing expectations and rules, and so on. Even for a calm, regulated child, that's a lot. But for kids who are emotionally intense, highly sensitive, neurodivergent, or uniquely wired, it can be downright exhausting. Their nervous system is working overtime, trying to filter through all that input, what's necessary and what's not, while staying focused, polite, and engaged. Every sound, sight, smell, touch, or demand adds another layer to their internal load. And for many of these kids, their systems struggle to filter out what is necessary and what is just background noise or unnecessary. While they may appear calm on the outside, inside they're like a soda can that's been shaken up all day long. So when they finally walk in the door at home, this is the place where it's safe to pop the top. It all comes fizzing out, or in some cases, spraying all over. The meltdowns, the tears, the irritability, that's their system releasing all that pressure. And here's where it gets tricky, because what looks or sounds like disobedience might actually be sensory exhaustion. A slammed door might mean I'm totally overwhelmed and hit my limit. A refusal to talk might mean I've used all my words. A meltdown might mean my body can't handle one more thing. And it is really a desire to be seen, heard, understood. And it might even be a cry for help. When we learn to see these behaviors not as defiance, but as communication, everything shifts. Because all behavior is communication. We can start asking ourselves, what's my child's system telling me right now? I like to think of it as their body budget, like a bank account. Is the account overdrawn? Or are there resources left to draw from? Can you withdraw? Are you needing to make some deposits? If their body budget is in the red, totally depleted, their coping skills are going to be really, really hard to handle. They might even feel impossible. When we respond with empathy instead of frustration, we can create space for help, support, and connection. It's like saying to your child, hey, I see you. You've had a long day. How can I help? Because underneath all that chaos is a child who's simply trying to find their calm again. And I want you to remember this. You get to be the one to help guide them there. So now that we understand why restraint collapse happens, let's talk about what to actually do about it. Because right now you're probably thinking, okay, Jamie, I get it, but what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my child? Well, here's the good news. It doesn't have to stay chaotic. There are a few small things you can do that can make a big difference in how those after-school hours go. Let's walk through them. Number 1, snack. The brain and body both need refueling after a long day. And protein can work wonders for a brain that's struggling to regulate. Think about it. Your child probably last ate around 11 or 11:30. So by the time school ends and they ride the bus or travel home, it's been several hours. Their energy is fading. Their blood sugar is low and their emotions are high. A quick protein snack right after school, even packed for the car or bus ride home, can make a huge difference. Some easy ideas might include jerky, nuts, cheese, a protein bar, or apple slices with peanut butter. Number 2, silence. After spending all day listening, following directions, and processing noise, your child may need a little quiet when they get home. I encourage you to give them some time and space to decompress without questions, demands, or conversation. And maybe even keep your words few. Yes, that's important. Silence can feel golden for a child who's been overstimulated all day. Number 3, soft connection. Once they've had a few minutes to breathe, try offering just a gentle form of connection. It might be a calm place to unwind, a light touch on their shoulder, a little bit of a back rub, or a simple acknowledgement like, looks like you've had a big day, ready for a break? Or, I'm glad you're home, need to chill for a bit? It's about letting them know they're safe and seen without overwhelming them with words and questions. Number 4, structure. Finally, we want to create a simple, predictable after-school rhythm. Kids who experience emotional overload often struggle with transitions, and unpredictability can be a huge trigger. A loose structure like snack, quiet time, and then homework or play helps their brain know what's coming next. The fewer surprises, the calmer the response. Keep it simple, keep it steady, and remember, you're not trying to create perfection. You're just creating a little bit of peace. When you start adding these small shifts, you'll begin to notice a difference. Fewer meltdowns, easier transitions, and more moments of connection. As we wrap up today's episode, I want you to remember this. What you're seeing after school isn't failure on your part, and it isn't a child choosing to disrespect or be defiant. It's trust and safety. Those tears, meltdowns, and big emotions are your child's way of saying, you're my safe place. And while that can feel heavy in the moment, it's also a very special space because it really means your home, your presence, and your love are creating safety in a world that often feels overwhelming to your child. So when the backpack drops and the meltdowns begin, take a deep breath. Remind yourself that your calm is contagious and that you don't have to fix it all in that moment. Sometimes the best gift you can give is quiet understanding, gentle connection, and just steady love. If you're walking through this season feeling a bit weary, please know you're not alone. There's a community of parents who get it, who are learning and growing right alongside you. Come join us in the Parenting with Personality Facebook group, where I share weekday tips for regulation, connection, and calm. It's a safe space for you to find encouragement, ideas, and people who truly understand what it's like to parent a child that's emotionally intense or uniquely wired. This is a place where you can ask questions and get some feedback. Your child doesn't need a perfect parent. They just need a calm, connected one. And you're becoming that one peaceful afternoon at a time. Well, that's it for today, but the journey to calm parenting doesn't stop here. If you are nodding in agreement, laughing, or maybe even crying, don't worry, we've all been there. Make sure to share this podcast with a friend who might need it too. Don't forget to connect with us at parentingwithpersonality.com or join our Parenting with Personality Facebook group. I'd love to support you there. And until next time, you've got this. Just keep calm and parent on.